No, yeah, like he must have just done so much real detailed work where he did those, taking all the other mucus forming foods out of the equation and just working with this one thing, saying,
Mm.
okay, he must have really like
Broke it down to, yeah, like, all right, let me, like, even just apples, like, let me eat apples for a week or however long, and just learned apples, like learned what they do, how they come out, how efficient, whether I'm eating them raw or then I stewed it, the difference between a raw apple and a cooked apple, the difference between perhaps a boiled apple and a baked apple, to really get how are we breaking down that fruit, and how aggressive is it in its capabilities to cleanse my body and cleanse my blood. It's definitely, I could see him going really scientific on that, just from seeing how like people like you and other practitioners, Brother Air, where he's not eating anything at all at certain points in his practice and in his goals, and then he'll take a sip of pineapple juice and see how that operates on a body that hasn't had food in perhaps weeks or a month. Yeah. I think that's the
right.
spirit. Like that's that Professor Arnold Ehret scientific experimentation spirit, to where you look at how people are sort of just taking in whatever they hear. And this is my opinion that I'm putting out, where it's like you'll see certain people, they're cooking this thing, but they don't know why they're cooking this or why they feel they need a protein sort of type of food on their plate, or needing a this starchy food or this superfood. Like they're just throwing it on the plate because people are saying, oh, this is what you need to do and this is how the human body works. But without self-knowledge, without self-experimentation to see how the food operates on you, and see, like, say with you with the almond milk, like that sounds perfectly natural and healthy. Some people would say, oh, that sounds like, oh, that you're being very healthy. But then you notice, you'll drink it and go, man, that's not healthy. Like I'm kicking out mucus and I'm feeling congested, and this food is causing that for me. So whatever the consensus is of, oh, that's healthy, that steak is healthy, that macaroni is healthy, you experiment on yourself and see, man, that stuff is obstructing. Like this is obstructing. I can see what it does, and you can put it in your own category of life and health.
Right. Like, so I'll take I feel like when I read people's things, like I take people for their word, but I don't necessarily like believe it. But
Uh
I make a note, like I remember it even until I can like prove otherwise.
mm,
I kind of have that space in my mind where like I just make a note of it, you
yeah.
know. So like when the whole thing with the mucusless diet, like I didn't believe one bit.
Uh
I just took what his word, what he was saying. I said, like, let me practice the system.
yeah.
And as I was practicing the system, it'd be like, oh, I see what he was saying when he would say this or that. And like I proved it to myself.
Mm,
Most of the things, most everything as far as dietary
yeah.
things go in the book. Like,
Okay.
say, or okay, maybe I haven't proved everything, but say I've proved 80% of the things in the book to myself.
Uh-huh.
It lends to the idea that the other 20% is probably the case as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like I'm a little bit more likely to take his word for it, but until I can prove otherwise.
I got you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. So thinking for yourself keep having that independent thinking while you're taking in the information in order to discern the truth of the information, as opposed to just absorbing it, consuming it, believing it, and not having any experiential knowledge of it at all.
Weird.
So you mentioned reading. Like what kind of books? Like you picked up a book there. I noticed you had some books earlier. Like what are you sitting with? Mucusless Diet. Let me see. Hold that up. Hold that up.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yup. Got Professor Spira.
This the brand new one. I buy like a few dozen at a time, like wholesale, and I give them out to people.
What?
A lot of times. Yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Yeah. So I do that with almost all the books that I like.
Oh, okay.
So
I like
that.
A lot
of times like I don't even have it'll be my favorite book, and like I'll be like, yeah, I gave the copy out. So like another I printed it up. Like another one of my favorite books is called The Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Yeah.
It's a short book, like you can see I printed it up.
You said the whole, or can you say it again? The Holy Quran?
It's the Holy Quran with a K, and then it'll either be styled as of the Moorish Science Temple of America, or sometimes you'll see the Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Because there was two different organizations that Noble Drew Ali founded. One was the Moorish Science Temple of America, which was a religious organization that was founded after the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, which was a civic organization.
Okay, can you express that difference again? You said holy and civic were the difference?
So the Moorish Holy Temple of Science was founded in 1925 as a civic organization. And then in 1928, because of the request from the Illinois state of whoever, that name was changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America, like in accordance with how they structure things, so that it could be filed as a religious organization.
Okay.
As well.
Okay.
So that's just another little small book. Another one, the Tao Te Ching.
Oh, okay.
Another little small book.
Yeah.
And I brought this is let's see if it's in both of these books. So in the second, it's called The Clock of Destiny. By show you a picture. This is C.M. Bay.
C.M. Bay?
Yeah, Charles Mosley Bay.
Got you.
Who is the President 33rd and 360 degree Free Moorish American Master Mason. So on the front of this book, it says, valuable stones come in small packages. And then on this front part, it says, it requires only a small book to explain the necessary truth of science and history. On the contrary, it requires a very large book to cover up the truth of science and history by way of mythology, theology, isms, gods, races, and nations fiction. So a lot of times it's a small book. It only requires, the truth can be expressed in a small book, but you need those big books to cover up the truth, to miseducate.
Yeah. Yo. All right. So let me see. So you mentioned Noble Drew Ali and Moorish science. So I have a couple of thoughts rolling in my brain where I don't come from that school of thought, or at least that background as far as specifically Moorish principles. And so when I looked a little bit into it, I'm seeing that there's there's 5 divine principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And you exploring these ideals and studying Noble Drew Ali, how would you say your experience with those principles, how do they tie into your practice with the Mucusless Diet Healing System?
Yeah, I mean they tie in because the more that we get healthy and clean and in tune with our senses, the more we're gonna be living on a really in like almost a different universe, even though like we're all on the same plane of things may manifest. Just our mentalities can really, 2 people are in the same room but have totally different feelings of where they're at. So I feel like the Moorish science is it really is a preparing like of your soul, kind of your whole spirit, like your whole nature, just really a realigning back to I guess that ancient state. And whereas the mucusless diet, I feel, is the physical means to get there. I feel like a lot of the things like expressed in this book, the Holy Koran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I think that it's been just as like inspirational for me as like the mucusless diet has been. You know, like I put those in the same, if not even more in a certain way.
Yeah.
Because you can clean your body to whatever degree, but if your soul, if your spirit, if your like mentality isn't clear on certain things, as far as like transitioning because that's the transition, is for transitioning from this body into the next life, the next body. Or however that plays out.
Okay, yeah.
There's that transition. So like this book here especially deals with the origin of humanity, which is not on Earth.
Where is it?
Like
the origin of humanity, according to
so humanity has always been a part of the universe. The first sentence in this book, it says, "Time never was when man was not. If the life of man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. No finite mind can comprehend things infinite. All finite things are subject unto change. All finite things will cease to be, because there was a time when there were not. The bodies and the souls of men are finite things, and they will change, yea, from the finite point of view of time. From the finite point of view of time, the time will come when they will be no more. But man himself is not the body nor the soul. He is a spirit and a part of Allah." So just from that to go, man has always existed. Even when the body is shed, we still have our place in the universe. And that is, and our origin is from a higher vibrating realm, so to say.
Okay.
The origin of all creation.
Yeah.
It comes from, see, this is also physical, and it's slow. It's vibrating so slow we can actually like see it and touch it. But when things are vibrating so quick, our senses can't even pick them up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't deny that reality.
Okay.
So that is where that's our origin comes from there. That's why you'll never find the origin of humanity on Earth.
Because of that density that you just described. Just one, and then also what you just read out loud, the finite mind cannot grasp the infinite. So then, yeah, it's not on this finite where time is, once time starts, it can end. So beyond time, that's where the origin is. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So speaking of the universe, I know you were really getting deeper into astrology when we were
Mm-hmm.
talking before. And how would you say astrology works with your navigation through just moving about? Like how does astrology play with your mucusless diet healing system practice and operating?
Word. So I use astrology more so as a learning tool,
Okay.
than like a predictor of the future or trends. Or I also use it too as with gardening.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like yeah. And
How?
I've noticed that like that's probably the most real um signals you can really see how like especially as the moon shifts into different zodiac signs,
Uh-huh.
you can really just notice the change in the like the temp in the weather.
Yeah.
And certain plants, like they'll grow better, like I've noticed when I plant it according to the moon phases. But I've noticed other times too, I plant off of the moon phase and the plants still grow, pretty well.
Okay.
So I don't take the astrology so like I really like to study it, like I'm saying, more so as a learning tool. So like as mathematically. So
Mm.
like every society all throughout the world always has some form of astrology.
Mm.
The difference was how they would break down the mathematics, because really time is measured in cycles for a lot of
Mm.
cultures, not
Okay.
not in linear time. So the zodiac wheel was always depicted as a circle. The
Mm-hmm.
cosmology of the universe was always depicted like starting with that circle.
Mm.
So when you have a circle, there's so many ways that you can break up the circle. So like when you use traditional astrology, it has 12 signs. You have your 4 cardinal points. I don't know how well you can see. This is
Let's
just
see.
like, so you have your 4
That's
cardinal points,
uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And then
Is that
you all
the form of a crosshair? Is it
exactly
the vertical and then the horizontal line through the center of that circle, like or
right,
the like the diameter top to bottom, left to right
exactly. So
idea?
so you have that idea, but then you also have, if you rotated that cross 30 degrees, it's going to line up with a different set of 4 zodiac signs.
I see. Yeah. Yup. I see
And
what you're
then
saying.
you could rotate that another 30 degrees. So you have this kind of triple cross
Mm.
that you can get between the 12 signs.
I see.
And that would represent your fixed, your mutable, and your cardinal signs.
Okay.
Those three groupings of 4. So then you have your 4 groupings of 3 as well, which deals with your elemental signs. So you have fire, water, air, and earth. So then on top of that same triple cross pattern, like you could overlay, you also have all of these triangular patterns that also overlay over a 12 segmented circle.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So through the division of the crosshair, turning 30 degrees, 30 degrees, 30 degrees until it meets 360 of the circle, breaking that pattern down, you'll notice triangular sections. No. Okay.
No. So there's that cross aspect, the triple
Yup.
cross aspect, and then
Uh-huh.
there's also this quadruple triangle aspect.
Okay. Where does that
And
come from?
all be through the elementals, through the elements.
Okay.
So you have 4 elements, and there's 3 signs per each element.
Okay.
So say for a fire element, you have your Aries, your Sagittarius, and your Leo.
Okay.
So you have that would see like that's your fire triangle here. Then
Can you
have your
bring it closer a little bit?
yeah.
Because I
So
can
like
see it like that.
right. So like you can see there's like the fire triangle in red. Then you have like your earth triangle. So you have this quadruple
Okay.
triangle overlaid over this triple cross, and then you have other if you just cut this in half, or if either way, then these say 6 signs would represent, I don't remember if it's east and west or north and south, but if you cut it one way, you have your personal and you have your social houses. And then if you cut it the other way, you have those who influence society and those who are influenced by society. So between all those like divisions, you could say, what you get is a very mathematical figure. And all of the signs balance each other out. And so the reason for me, like why astrology has it's useful just in any circumstance, just knowing I guess the balances that every instance you could relate it to astrology.
Okay.
Every field of study like has its ties back to one of a particular sign or planet.
So initially you mentioned you would use astrology as a learning tool, and how you would apply it to your gardening. You would use it during these times, see the accuracy, also do it outside of the times to experiment and explore for your own self-knowledge, how we were talking about with the Mucusless Diet Healing System. You get the facts, but then let me try it. Let me see if I don't do that, and what the results are. So my question is, how does the astrology and your understanding of which you just expressed, I'm looking up, I'm seeing it might have to do with like the Mayan, was that like Mayan cosmology that you were touching in on, or that's one aspect?
That's like another, how I was saying, like every culture, if astrology isn't so important, why is it that every single high civilization had some form of astrology?
Okay.
But has that been the same way like herbs are being misused? Is astrology being misused nowadays? Same way, kind of all these sciences are being just kind of messed with and not given so accurately. You know?